Alright, hello. We're doing something a little bit different today. Today we're going to be painting some Warhammer 40,000 miniatures. A little bit of info on exactly what is Warhammer 40,000. Warhammer 40,000 is a British-made books, or it is a series of British-made books, video games, and tabletop board games. The miniatures are the tabletop board game. You create your army, you buy them, you buy the models, you build them, you paint them, and you play against other players with your army. Now, you can do all kinds of things with your army. You can have, just an example, you can have Space Marines, Chaos Space Marines, Eldar, which are essentially Space Elves, Dark Eldar, which are essentially fucking asshole Space Elves. They're the sadistic and twisted ones. Essentially the Dark Elves. Elves and Dark Elves. Orcs, Tyranids, which are a spacefaring series of a spacefaring species of insect which has no other desire than simply to consume all life that it can. You have Necrons, which are these mechanical skeletal warriors who were turned into living weapons by the star gods called the Catan. Then you have the Tau. I like the Tau. The Tau are my favorite in terms of visual aesthetic. Now, as Warhammer is moving into a good way of thinking of the Tau, think Gundam. Mobile suits everywhere, which is, frankly, a good thing. I have numerous. They fit right in. You have the Riptide, the Ghost Keel, XV-108s, XV-1029s. You have tanks, bombers, the Manta. I want the Manta. It is so pretty. It's like this fucking big, too. But, getting ahead of myself. Where was I going? I don't remember. Right. But, you purchase your army. You have a specific series of miniature figures that you can purchase that will go with your army. The best way of knowing, hey, do these figures go with my army, is simply looking on the box. There's going to be a little disc, and if it has a Space Marine helmet, which a Space Marine helmet looks like... You can't see his face very well. Space Marine helmet looks like this. You can't really see that very well. But it has a big, frowning rebreather and a pointed brow ornament. It looks like an angry face, almost. That is a Space Marine. These, however, are Chaos Space Marines. Theirs will be represented by a spiked 8-point star. The Tau are represented by... It is a circle, big circle, and in the circle it looks like a beetle. Because it has two branches going there, meeting, and then going down. So you have two panels here, and then a circle. It looks like a ladybug. That's the Tau. The Necrons are, think an Egyptian Ankh necklace. The Tyranids are an animal face. The Orcs are this cartoony orc head. The Orcs are adorable, in a way. What else is there? The Eldar and Dark Eldar, I don't remember the symbols to at all. Which is strange, because I have Dark Eldar. Then again, I haven't had the boxes in a while. But, when you buy your miniatures, they're going to come on a part tree like this. This is actually, coincidentally, the Dark Eldar part tree. Notice all of the sharp objects that they very much enjoy having. All the rifles, the heads, the crazy fucking knives everywhere, the flails on the end of a chain, the guillotines, the spiky punch fists. That's Dark Eldar. Sadistic and fucked. What I'm painting currently is Chaos Space Marines kit bashed with Loyalist Space Marine Terminators. Terminators are a version of Space Marine that are significantly larger, significantly more heavily defended, and have significantly heavier armor. So you can see it better. Here is a Terminator. This is an apothecary. They're like the field medic. Notice how big and bulky he is. Here is a Chaos Space Marine. You can see the size difference. One is substantially larger than the next. And yes, their bases are on equal standing. Now, just recently, Warhammer released 8th edition and the new Primaris Marines. Primaris? I think it's Primaris. That's how I'm going to say it. So that's how it's said for me. Primaris. And a Primaris Space Marine is a version of a normal Space Marine who is on a 40mm base instead of a 32. No, this is a 25. Who is... Oh, right. This is an old kit. I forgot about that. This is an old kit. You're probably not going to get this when you order them. But, they're on the 32 and 40mm bases, and they're bigger than a Terminator, scale-wise. I believe that it is Games Workshop bringing their Space Marines to a higher scale. And I love it, because they look so much better, and they're going to be a hell of a lot easier to paint, if I ever buy any. So, today, what we're going to be doing is painting. I've already got, my Terminators are mostly done. They're on the touch-up phase, except this guy. I've got a lot of work to do on this guy's weapon. I have a lot of work to do on him. On his weapon, his pods, some details on him. I've got a fair bit of work to do on this guy. But for the icon bearer, I have a complete weapon that I need to do. So what we're going to be doing today, if I can find a secondary mixing pot, maybe. What we're going to be doing today is working on these guys beyond the base phase. As you can see, their colors are based in. Their primary color is green. That is about the only color that they are right now as they stand. They are green. Some of them, their weapons aren't painted. Some of them they are. That's simply because these guys were painted up in a different color scheme already. I got sick of them being the color scheme they were, and I wanted to make them a color scheme of something of my own creation rather than Chaos Undivided. Right. So, let's move on. This is why you have the new perspective. Now, we're going to be working with two different kinds of paints. Acrylics, which are Model Master Blue Label. I wish I had more Model Master. I really, really like their colors. But we have acrylics, which are going to be the predominant. They're things like Createx, Folk Art, Liquitex. Then we have Model Master Red Label, enamel paints. These are paints where you don't want them to get on something, because if it gets on it, it's not coming off. Where a acrylic paint, such as Model Master Blue Label, this is a skin tone, tan, As you can see, it's on a couple of these guys, namely this one most predominantly for his head. But this one can be thinned with water. And the purpose of thinning it is so that it goes onto the paintbrush easier, it comes off the brush easier, it goes onto the models smoother, finer, and with less clogging of detail. So that's these. They're very simple. You can thin them with water. These guys are a little different. These guys are a much more permanent paint solution and are not water-based. They are an ethyl-based. Meaning you're going to have to get yourself some thinner and brush cleaner. Because that paint will murder your brush. No ifs, ands, or buts. Your brush will die if you don't clean it out. And what do you mean by your brush will die? I threw a few of them away earlier, and I need to get my water brush out. Come on! Come here. This is what a brush looks like after you clean it. It was an enamel after you forcibly clean it with your nails, knives, water, alcohol, what have you. This is what it looks like after you force it clean. This is what your brush needs to look like to play Warhammer. It needs to be a needle-fine point. If it's not, you're going to miss your details, and you're not going to get it done. You're going to muddy up everything, and it's not going to be done right. Now, what you're going to want is a whole little series of these super fine brushes. These you can get at Michael's, no, not Michael's, at a Hobby Lobby for $6, $5 actually. You can get them at Hobby Lobby for $5. They're good brushes, they're solid brushes, and they're cheap. So if they die out on you, you don't have to worry about it. They come in a variety of sizes, so you still don't really have to worry if one or two of them kick the bucket. What we're going to do is we're going to get some of this paint thinner into this little jar. This little jar is going to be our brush cleaner and thinning solution for those paints. Now, we aren't going to be going directly to those paints. Mind you, do not get this in your eyes. Do not get this in your mouth. I would wear gloves, but I don't have any. So I'm just going to have to make do with spilling a little bit in there. And it doesn't appear that any, yep, it looks like quite a bit actually got onto the side of the bottle. Now, that's okay. We're just going to take our rag. I have a paint rag somewhere. Do not get rid of your stopper. Keep your stopper. Your stopper will save you. Okay, I will just wipe it on my pants. Now, what I hope is that this paint thinner does not eat that little jar, because paint thinner is a very strong, very corrosive, very upsetting chemical. And if it wants to eat something, it's more than likely going to eat it. So we're going to leave that there. We ain't actually going to use them yet. We're just preparing that for when we do. So right now, what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the secondary color, which would be actually not painting. It would actually be shading. A shade captures the detail of your miniatures. As you can see, there are some details on here that you can't quite make out. There's ribbing on his chest unit, there's details, there's a design on his shield, his shoulder pad, all of that. And as this is going to be a very simple looking army, aside from a couple guys in it who are going to be specialists, we're going to paint them simple, which means a base color, a shade, a highlight, and a secondary color, along with shade and highlight on that secondary. Now, their secondary color, I'm not sure what the color of it is going to be outright. So I'm simply going to have to paint their bases in, which I've done, shade them, and see what happens. Now a shade is an extremely, extremely, extremely thin paint. It is almost like water with paint in it. And you can make your shades that way by getting an oil-based paint and mixing them up in water and alcohol, blending them up, and you have a shade. Some people use inks. So here you have something from Citadel. Agrax Earthshade. It's brown. It's used typically to shade golds, browns, what have you. What I'm going to be doing is focusing on mostly browns and black. So I'm going to be using 3 different shades. Agrax Earthshade, Reichland Flesh Shade, and Nuln Oil. Nuln Oil is straight black. It's going to look oily, it's going to look gross, and it's what's going to go on the majority of the silver bits. The Agrax Earthshade is going to go onto the majority, well, not the majority, all of their armors. It's going to cover the greens, and it's going to bring down their color. It's going to darken them. It's going to go into all the little details on the armor. Reichland Flesh Shade and Agrax Earthshade will be used on the skin of the faces of people such as the Terminator Captain, the Devastator, who you can kind of barely see his face in there, another kind of sergeant-esque figure, again with a face you can barely see, and the Chaos Chosen. This is essentially the captain of the standard Space Marine squadron. So what we're going to do is we're going to hop right into it. I just dropped them. And we're just kind of going to go through an assembly line on this. So we're going to open up some Agrax Earthshade. We're going to shake the piss out of it first. We get a brush for shading. My size 1 will be my shade brush. So what we're going to do is we're going to dab it in the water to hydrate the bristles. And we're going to get a little bit of this onto the brush. Well, more than a little bit, actually. We're going to get about yay much. Can't really see it very well, but about yay much. And we're going to start by just going on to areas which need detail. And this brush may not actually do the job for us. It is not. So what we're going to do is we're going to wash this brush off real quick. Don't do that. That's not good for you. I do it because I'm an idiot. We're going to get this jump brush with nice, open, flared bristles. And we're going to use it. We're going to move it back, and we're just going to dump some of this out onto the palette so we can show how much we got. Then we're just going to go about essentially giving this guy a good, hefty bath of Agrax Earthshade all over his armor. Now, you don't want to have way too much, but you don't want too little. You want the effect of the shade to be noticeable, but you don't want it to be all that you notice. You don't want to be overpowered by the shade. The shade is there to help. Shade is there to get the details, save you some time, save you some effort, and most importantly, help. It is a shade. It is a accessory color. It is secondary. It is not the only thing that you're going to have on this miniature. So don't just douse it in shade and think that's going to make it look good. It's not. And while we're doing Agrax Earthshade, we're going to go ahead and throw it onto the head, the face, and all of that. We're just going to keep at it, just putting this on all the little detail areas. And he's going to take about 20-30 minutes to dry. Don't worry, I'm not going to make them sit here and have to deal with it all. I'm actually going to pause the recording now because you've seen the process. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to base coat all the other miniatures. Alright, so we've now shaded all of them. And as you will see, there are some areas of them that are not shaded, such as this one's bolt gun. There's no shade on it. That's because it has to be painted a completely different color. Same thing with his horns and some other minor details on him. Well, we don't have to shade those. We're going to shade them later, when we go to shade something else. And it does take shade quite a while to dry, as you can see. And you can see the details of the demon on his backpack much more clearly now. You can see details on his armor now. Again, much more clearly. And again, his bolt gun is not painted, because that's going to be done later, when I actually can figure out what color is going to go where, what color is going to go on the bolt gun, and why. So, yeah. That's my little update. It's my little video. Hope you all enjoyed. I kind of did. It was kind of slow for me.